USA versus Raj, an incredible story. A story of a man, of a doctor who fought with the system, the judiciary system in US. Ordinary man, incredible journey, USA versus Raj, Dr. Raj Bothra. He wrote this book now. Very soon, this will be converted into a movie. The truth behind one of US biggest false arrest and imprisonment scandals. So US ਦੇ ਅੰਦਰ ਜੋ ਡਾਕਟਰ ਰਾਜ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਚਾਰजेस ਲੱਗੇ ਸੀਗੇ 54 charges on him, and final result was that all the charges was dismissed and he is a free man now. And because of 3.5 years, 1301 days in prison, and he said he was falsely imprisonment, falsely charged, and then he fought with the system in this age also. And this story, USA versus Raj, we will see this book, which is a USA versus Raj book. Must read this, because this story might be of yours also, or someone you know. And this story, read this book, because Dr. Raj, he fought with the system, fought with big forces, and the result is he was acquitted. He was discharged from the case. He was innocent and free man after the legal battle. After a legal battle, he won against the system.
Well, I really did not choose it myself, but the government made me do it. Government indicted me in 2018 on the charges of Medicare fraud and narcotic distribution, and that was a totally false charge. They gave bail to all other 5 defendants, but they did not give me the bail. I ended up spending 3.5 years in the prison waiting for the trial. Now, this is against the Constitution of United States, the 6th Amendment, that they have to have a trial in cases of the pre-trial detention in a very speedy manner. So I spent 3.5 years in the prison, waited for the trial, and in the end, a jury of 12 men and women acquitted me fully of all the 54 charges. The question is that how are they going to give me back the 3.5 years of my life that I lost, and my wife Pame and my daughter Sonia lost this time? How are they going to give me back? The other question is that 2 of the doctors pleaded guilty for their own reasons, nothing to do with the work they were doing with me. Now, these 2 people, and I'm happy for them that they never went to prison. They did not have to spend a day in the prison. I'm happy for them and for their family. But how do we reconcile that somebody who pleaded guilty, somebody said that I committed the crime, they did not spend 1 day in prison, and I was in the prison for 3.5 years, and finally acquitted fully in the trial. So how are they going to compensate the time that I lost with my family, with my work, with my patients? How are they ever going to compensate that? And that is the reason that I'm writing the book, that people should be aware about the judicial system in the United States. It is really a corrupt system from bottom up all the way. There is only one thing that is fair. And I realized that when I was in the prison, that if I have to survive and if I have to come out of the prison, the only way is the jury, because they are impartial. They are the common people, 12 men and women, and that was my focus. And that's exactly what happened, because the prosecutors, the US attorney, and I dare say even the judge, they want to win. They want a conviction. They have to win at any cost. Doesn't matter whether it is fair or unfair, as even moral or immoral, it doesn't matter. They just have to win. This is the culture. It has become a cult, that this is the culture. An ordinary man like me, to have a defeat from an ordinary person for a huge big government, which is the most powerful in the world, they cannot accept that. And they tried everything to make me take a plea deal of pleading guilty. I said, I'm ready to compromise, but I'm never going to plead guilty. This is never going to happen. It is question of my honor, the honor of my family, the country where I come from, and this will never happen. They said, you are going to die in prison. I said, so wait, I'll die in prison, but I'm never going to take a plea deal. And if I cannot go home, I cannot go home. They tried that with my wife and daughter, told them to ask me to plead guilty so that at least I'll be able to go home. Otherwise, he will come home in a black bag. This is what they were frightened by this kind of thing even from my own attorneys and the government. But this one thing I could have never accepted, and I never did. I took about a year and a half to write the book. After writing the book, I hired an editor, Jennifer, who is here, and then I made her the co-author. So it took some time, about a year and a half. The book is ready now. It is in your hands. And what was your other question? Okay. About the film. I did not have any plan of making the film. It is a very difficult thing to do. All I wanted to do is to write the book and tell my story, and hope that there will be awareness about the judicial system in the common people, and something can be done about it, because this cannot be tolerated. This kind of unfairness, and particularly being an immigrant coming from India, and this kind of thing. Part of the reason, maybe even that. The film came up when I met Prashant, and Pami was interested that there should be a film on this subject. And when I met Prashant, I felt that we can do a good job. And this is little difficult work, because you have to put a lot of people together to make sense of it. But I think we can do that, and I hope that it will be a good film. I hope there will be awareness about the judicial system, because I'm an educated man. I've been involved here in social activities, political activities, and I did not know when I went in the prison that how bad it is. I had no idea that they will do anything to win, no matter what, And so people have to know what they are facing. And 0.03% people win from government. So it is a kind of arrogance to think that you will be in that 0.03%. But I couldn't do otherwise. I couldn't take the plea. That I would never do. No, there was no special treatment. I was like any other prisoner. It is tough. It is very difficult in the prison. Well, all kinds of people, but it was kind of okay after a while. Because I was in Milan, Michigan, in the prison for quite some time, 2.5 years there. And I never made any friends, but I never offended anybody. I kept it to myself. I read for 10 hours a day there to keep myself occupied, preparing for the trial, and then many other books. But it became okay after a while, because these people also, there is something in them that they also have a heart and they also have a soul. I became their second opinion on the medical field, because they never trusted the medical system in the prison. So if there is anything, they would come and talk to me that what should be done.
So you tried to help them?
I did whatever I could do. And then another thing that I was teaching them about many things. Drug abuse, drugs. 50% of the people in American prisons are related to the drugs. And I was teaching them. I did a lot of work about that for Government of India, the drug abuse, HIV, AIDS, smoking, alcoholism. So I was teaching them on these issues. And then I was also teaching them about the financial things, that when you get out of the prison, you still have the opportunity, and anybody in America, the country gives you a great opportunity. Anybody can become millionaire here if they have a discipline. And I was telling them there are 4 things you have to do when you go out. Take a job, whatever your ability is. Save $500 a month, put it in a Roth account, let it grow. Stay married, don't have divorce, and invest in America. If you do that, anybody can make it in this country. This country gives you a lot of opportunities. Yeah, I have a whole chapter on in the book, that a modest proposals about the judicial system. Now it is a subject for a long discussion, but I'll tell you a couple of things about it. The whole system is screwed up completely.
Judicial system.
Judicial system. I'm not talking about any other system. I'm sure there are many good things and many good institutions. The system is screwed up in the sense that right from the beginning, the grand jury, that they can get in my indictment by a grand jury based on the FBI investigation, and prosecutors what they are telling, and you are not even there. You are not there, your counsel is not there, and the prosecutor can get an indictment, and the US attorney will be ready to oblige and issue a warrant. Now, how could that be possible, this kind of thing? This system of grand jury started in England in 18th century, and they have given up because it becomes a tool of the government to harass the people. So that is a very simple thing. Obviously, the prisons are terrible. That need to be reformed. The question that you were raising, the recidivism can be improved a great deal if they give some hope, some opportunity to the people, those who are in prison, and give them some hope. The problem is the people have no hope. There is a total hopelessness in these people, and they think, what will they do outside? It will be the same thing for them, and they will end up back again in the prison. So that need to be improved. And this culture, the worst part is the people are highly intelligent, educated people, the US prosecutors, the US attorney, the judges, they're highly educated people. But this mindset that they have got to win, they have got to get the conviction. And partly it is a culture, it has become a cult, and partly their further progress depends entirely on that how many convictions they have. A prosecutor wants to become a US attorney wants to become federal judge, and federal judge appeals court. Everything depends on how many convictions they can get. The main charges were two. That there was, number one, that there was a conspiracy between the doctors that to manipulate the system and try to get more money from federal programs. But they were stupid in putting this kind of charge, because whatever money we get from the Medicare, it is a fixed amount of money, and government has all the records. They said that they paid us $450 million over a period of time. I had the biggest interventional pain practice in the country, according to the FBI. And these charges, when they know that it was $45 million between, I had 130 employees and 10 doctors and that kind of thing. Now they have these numbers. We don't have these. They have these numbers. How could they come up with this? Second charge, which was the main charge, was the narcotics prescriptions. That again, they have the number. Because any prescription that we write about any narcotic that is reported to state where you are working, state of Michigan in my case, they have record of everything. And finally what happened is this, they came to know that we were giving lower medication than recommended by CDC, lower than that. So the prosecutors flipped. They indicted for hire. They flipped that they were giving lower medication and keeping the patients in pain. And so jury laughed. You indict for something for the hire, and then it turned out that it was much lower. So these were the two main charges, and we were able to prove just by their own records.
I'm Pami Bothra. I'm Dr. Raj Bothra's wife. And this is the book that he always thought when he was in jail. He thought, I'm going to write this book, and this is my only story. The book form is the one that will create a lot of awareness in most of the community, Indian community, American community, whoever reads it, that don't lose hope. You can always fight and you can win.
I'm here today to be part of the launch of Dr. Raj Bothra's book and Dr. Raj Bothra's film, because this is an extraordinary story of an Indian doctor, highly respected, highly successful, who was prosecuted by the FBI, charged on 54 counts, put through the most inhuman conditions, where they tried to break him into admitting guilt or doing a plea bargain. And through all his agony, he refused to admit guilt, and at the end, he was acquitted of 54 charges, not guilty, and he walked out with his head held high. But what he had to go through is a story of great heroism, great courage, and the victory of the human spirit that will not be cowed down and not be broken by pressure that is totally illegal and very painful, and a man who endured all odds to succeed. I have done many international roles. I played leading men, I played heroes, I played villains, I played fathers, grandfathers, everything. But fortunately, Dr. Bothra and I are about the same age. I relate very much to all he has gone through in life. I felt deeply for all that he had to suffer in trying to prove his innocence. And as an actor, I will do my best to portray the incredible suffering that he went through to win this case, which was a travesty of justice to start with. I read his book. I got a good sense of the man. I got a good sense of what happened, what actually happened. And I hope to spend some time with him just to understand him, his mannerism, his ways, the way he talks, the way he thinks, and learn from his body language. But more importantly, is to convey the inner spirit that never gave up in the face. It's a story of a real lion of a man, a true hero who overcomes in spite of all the odds against him. So it's very thrilling for me to play this role. ऐसी फिल्में बननी चाहिए और किताब जो लिखी है उनके असल की एक्सपीरियंस पे आधारित है। जो उनके साथ हुआ उसके बारे में सब सच लिखा गया है। जो भी उनको सहना पड़ा, जो भी उनको दुख दिया गया, ये तकलीफ से उभर के वो विजय प्राप्त कर पाए, ये कहानी जो है कमाल की कहानी है। और मैं अपने आप को बहुत ही लकी या फॉर्चुनेट समझता हूँ कि मुझे ये रोल ऑफर किया गया है, क्योंकि ये कहानी सबके दिलों को छू जाएगी। एक आदमी, एक इंसान को इतना जो सफ़र करना पड़ा और दुख झेलना पड़ा और अंत में विजय प्राप्त करके दिखाया कि जो उनकी अंदर की शक्ति थी वो सारे सर्कमस्टांसेस से ज़्यादा थी, ताकि अंत में उनका एक्विटल जो था और उनको जो विजय मिला वो बहुत ही मीठा था। देखिए, जस्टिस सिस्टम की तो बात बहुत बड़ी है। जस्टिस सिस्टम की प्रॉब्लम इंडिया में भी बहुत है। हमारे 50 मिलियन केसेस हैं, पेंडिंग केसेस हैं। तो जस्टिस की प्रॉब्लम इंडिया में भी है, लेकिन अमेरिका में जहाँ की जस्टिस सिस्टम इतनी बुलंद है, जहाँ के सिस्टम कहते इतने डेमोक्रेटिक हैं, जहाँ कहते हैं कि सबको न्याय मिलता है, इस मुल्क में जब लोगों को अन्याय मिलता है, जब उनको इतना सहना पड़ता है कि कोई भी टूट जाए उन स्थितियों में, ऐसी कहानी लगती है कि हो नहीं सकती अमेरिका में। कि ये स्टोरी अमेरिका में हो रही है, ये सबसे बड़ी स्टोरी है, क्योंकि यहाँ के सिस्टम को लोग मानते हैं कि यहाँ बहुत एफिशिएंट जस्टिस सिस्टम है, लेकिन है नहीं। ये केस दिखाता है कि अच्छे से अच्छे आदमी के साथ बहुत अन्याय हो सकता है, और जिस तरह राज बोथरा साहब ने इसका सामना किया और अंत में विजय प्राप्त की, दिस इज अ लेसन फॉर एवरीबॉडी। 3.5 years. And it finished just 3 years ago. I was inspired to do this role because the producer, Mr. Prashant Shah, and director came to me and said, I have a wonderful book of this case that happened in America. I read the book. I said, fantastic. I'm happy to play this role because I lived in America for 15 years in Hollywood, among the films that I did here. And I thought, this is beyond belief that a case like this can happen in America. And this story must be told. And I should be the one that plays that role because I feel so strongly for him. Well, my role in Gandhi was the role of Dadabhai Naoroji, who was iconic figure of the Indian freedom struggle. Also a man who got elected as MP in England and was an inspiration for Gandhi. And that friendship lasted many years, even after Gandhi went to South Africa. So that was a very special role to play in a very important series where India tells the story of Gandhi itself. It's been shooting in London, it's been shot in Gujarat, it's been shot everywhere that Mahatma Gandhi went. It's been shot in South Africa. This is not just here we showed the first 2 episodes, but actually it will be 8 episodes of 3 seasons each. So it is a complete story of Gandhi being told by Indians, not through the lens of a foreign person or country. And it's a story that needs to be told of one of the greatest Indians that lived.
Well, I direct a nonprofit in Detroit, and his friend Suresh found me. And as soon as I heard about the story, I said, I have to be a part of this project. So I'm an author, so I write and I ghostwrite a lot of books. So, gosh, I mean, like Z just said, everything, it needs to be dismantled. But what readers will see in the book is the systems that are already in place were not being honored. So he wasn't given those same liberties that he's supposed to be given. And, you know, that's the tragedy, or that's one of the tragedies. Don't lose hope and don't cave. You have to hold on to your morals. You have to have that foundation, and don't let them defeat you. So 97% of people who are arrested plead out because they know the odds are stacked against them. Most of them don't have the resources. So imagine you have to use a public defender to defend you. And now you have this, he was in prison for 1,301 days. So he's 3.5 years before it goes to trial. What attorney who's a public defender is going to stick with you like that? It's not going to happen. So here you have someone who has the hope, has the, you know, the moral fiber, is not letting them, you know, crush his spirit, which, I mean, can you imagine? I can't even imagine that. You know, maybe 6 months. And if you're in there, you're thinking, my rights give me 6 months and then they have to take me to trial. And then that 6-month point happens. And when you know you're innocent, it doesn't get easier after that 6-month mark. Like other people will say, after you've been incarcerated for 6 months, it just gets easier. But when you know you're innocent and you're waiting for your trial and your bail is being denied over and over and over, 9 times they denied his bail. Right. So just imagine you keep saying, there's hope, there's hope, there's hope. And then, you know, so I have written almost 100 books. So I have co-authored a lot of people's memoirs. I have 3 of my own books. My second book just came out in a second edition. So I have Warrior Sister Cut Yourself Free is a self-help book / memoir. And then I have a poetry collection, Blood Sisters and New Wilderness. And some of these books have won awards. I love to write. And I love to give voice to the voiceless and to these cases that people need to know about these stories. So I'm trying to remember exactly how you just framed your question, but what do I get out of it? I get the justice of helping him reclaim the only place of justice that he can get, which is to tell his story through his words. And for, I mean, how long has it been now? 5.5 years? 6 years? The government has gotten to spin their false narrative. So if you look up the different news coverage, you know, most of that search engine stuff will come back with their narrative. And so here's his chance to say, that's a lie, that's not the truth. And here are the stories. And here is the truth. And exposing people who did awful things, people who are in, you know, incredible places of power, who are educated individuals. And when you see the trial play out, it's uncomprehendable how just scrupulous the prosecution was and the federal agents who are all involved in this. At every single level, you will be dropping your jaw over and over and over again because you think one of these things alone would be like, oh, but then it happens with the next witness and the next witness and the next witness. And it's talk about injustice.
Hi, my name is Emily Shaw, and I'm playing the role of Sonia. Very recently, actually, Sonia and her family we met, I want to say about 2 weeks ago, and they're a very lovely family. I was able to read the script, really enjoyed the script. It's a story that really hasn't been told and obviously needs to see the light of day. Once you read the script, you'll notice that it's a very moving story. And the reason why we do feel that it needs to be told into a film format is because there's so many different elements and layers of not only Dr. Raj, but his family as well. Their involvement during his time when he was in prison, their involvement when he got out of prison, the effect that it had on not just him, but also his family and his community was tremendous. So, obviously the justice system, they try to do right, but sometimes they get it wrong. And so these are the kinds of stories that need to be told in order for the people that were wronged by the justice system to finally be able to tell their side of it. Yeah, of course, yeah. Yeah, so the film that I'm most known for is a film called Jungle Cry. It was with Abhay Dale, also based on a true story about these boys from Odisha that went to the UK to play in the Rugby World Cup. And it's a great story about an underdog kind of team from India. And so I was able to play their sports physio, and that was shortlisted for the Oscars in 2023. I've actually spent some time with Sonia before we came here and before we had this press conference, and I do hope to spend even more time with her. I like to spend time with Sonia alone because in these moments she was very much alone. And I think it's important to capture her essence and really the sadness that she went through and how much of an effect it had on her, but how much of a pillar she was for her father. So, just consistently spending time with Sonia and the director too. I think we really need to dive into how we want to develop Sonia's arc and her character.
My name is Yazid Diab. I'm the son-in-law of Dr. Batra and Sonia's husband. Well, I met Sonia the year that Dr. Batra got arrested. It was about 6 months prior to it. So I've pretty much been with the family since all of it ended up occurring, all the way to the end until now. Well, I mean, everything ended up occurring about 6 months after I officially had met the family. Just based on the 6 months that I had met him, when I found out, regarding the indictment and all the accusations, just based on the brief encounter that I had with him, I knew that he wasn't the type of person that would do something that they were accusing him of doing. A lot of people were doubting him, doubting his success and all of that, and come to find out, we were all correct regarding him. He didn't do anything wrong. He got acquitted of all 52 charges, as you heard him say.
I don't know what more there is to say. I keep going everywhere, and talking about Sholay is becoming more and more difficult because where do I find new phrases or new lines? But I'm very proud, and I'm overwhelmed with the affection people have for this film and most of my other work as well. But we're talking today about Sholay, and Sholay's 50 years, TIFF's 50 years, and I believe the NFDC, National Film Development Corporation, is also 50 years old today. So you have 3 golden jubilees going, and that's absolutely wonderful. I think, what can I say about this occasion, except that it feels wonderful to be amongst your people and people who love Indian cinema. And I will say this, that I think people should have a go. Nobody should be afraid of trying something new, of going for cinema, yes, which may have the basic ingredients of cinema, some lovely comedy scenes where you have, because each film actually has its own heart. Sholay had a few hearts: drama, romance, revenge, a lot of happenings with different scenes and different characters, and a fine cast of actors who absolutely mesmerized people with their performances, technicians who did wonders with their work, and Salim Javed with their dialogues, of course, and unforgettable dialogues, as we just said. And I don't know, it's just great to be a part of it. And I hope in celebrating this, we actually celebrate Indian cinema. Yes. And that's what's most important. And that should keep providing us with more and more lovely films to watch over the years. Thank you, Raj. But before I sit down, I have only one thing to say about this gentleman. He's written a fine book and is going on to become a fine film. And it's that you've already heard, that fight against the bigger forces is not an easy fight. And it's taken him quite a lot out of him to be able to come out with this. And he is free today, and he's been exonerated completely from all counts, is most encouraging, and encouraging for others as well, that they may not be caught up in the wrong act, and they may not suffer the way he did. This will be out with people, and hope that it will show people what it is to be wrongly indicted, wrongly incarcerated. He was in prison for about 3.5 years. So I think that's quite a fight, quite a battle. Anybody I'm making a film today, and tomorrow if I find myself, I'll say, what was all my other life all about? At least it should have been given a fair and speedy trial, but it took a long time to prove that he was not guilty. And we're also happy that he was not.
Yes.
And that he's out with us and celebrating with us. Today we celebrate the book and hope very soon it will become one of the best films of all time.
And you are under arrest. They took me to the court. 5 other doctors were indicted at the same time. They were all in, 3 of them were in the court. The other 2 were taken to different jurisdiction. So 4 of us was there. That morning, the bail was granted to all of them. All 5 of them, the bail was granted, and then the case will go in the court, which is the American system, and I agree with it, that this is okay. The things can go wrong, but there is a system by which you will get the justice and you can come out of it. And now what happens is a different story altogether. We were presented to the judge in the morning at about 9 or 10 o'clock. The judge gave bail to all other 5 people except me. The charges were the same, exactly same word by word, what kind of charges were labeled against us. So there was no difference. So the 5 people were allowed to go, but I was kept. The bail was not granted to me because on a flimsy concept of that you are a flight risk. They can label that on anybody, that you are a flight risk if they don't want you to. The whole idea was that I was the boss, I was the main person, and if they can break me, everybody else will fall and they can declare victory because they did not have any case. When the bail was not granted, I was put in prison. I never imagined in my life. You know, I had a good, wonderful life. I worked hard for it. I don't apologize for my success. I don't apologize for me being rich, because this is the American way. And I achieved that. But anyway, I was put in the prison. Not only in the prison, I went to the judge for 9 times again to get a bail based on that everybody else is out and the charges are the same. And the bail was denied 9 times, and I was in the prison for 1,301 days before the trial started, which is against the US Constitution. The 6th Amendment provides you the right that if you are detained pre-trial, you have the right to a very, very speedy trial. The only reason they kept me to break me. Because if I fall, everybody else will fall. Government did not have a case, and if I fall, then they can declare victory. Because this is the whole concept in the judiciary, in American judiciary. I thought I was an educated person. I knew the system. I was active in the social field. I was active in the political field. But I had no idea what is going on in the judiciary till I ended up in the prison. That's the only time I knew that the culture in the US judiciary, from bottom to the top, whether it is a prosecutor or a US attorney, and dare I say whether you are a judge, is only one, that you have to win at any cost. Fair or unfair, right or wrong, and moral or immoral. I don't know how it could happen to the educated person. I thought it happens in people, those who are religious terrorism and that kind of thing, uneducated people and brainwashed about it. But these are highly educated and smart people. This has become a cult, nothing less than that. And these people are all in that mind that they have to get a conviction. How an ordinary person like Raj Bothra can beat them? They cannot even imagine that. It's not about beating the government. I respect the government. I think they have to do what they have to do. But if they find out that they are wrong, they should admit it. They did not. They doubled down on it. And they kept me in prison, hoping that at one time they will break me and I will plead guilty. They did everything they could do. I told them one thing: I'll compromise anything you tell me to compromise, because I want to go home to my wife and my daughter. But I will never take a plea deal, because it is against my honor, my family's honor, it is against where the country I come from. I'm never going to do that. After 3.5 years, they realized that he is not going to do it. They went to my wife and daughter. They told me that if you don't do it, you will die in the prison. I said, so be it. I'll die in the prison, but this will never happen. You know, I come from a place where dignity and honor is much more important than the life. They went to my wife, they went to my daughter, Sonia, who is sitting here, because they knew that she can probably convince me. And she was scared to death. And they asked her to write a written letter to me, which my attorney delivered to me, telling me that, Dad, I want you to come home, no matter what. So please do whatever they are telling you to do. I knew this was not my Sonia, because she always told me that don't ever plead guilty because you are going to win. But anyway, to cut the long story short, I did not. And I went to the trial, 7 weeks trial, 54 counts, and in the end, the jury gave the verdict.
Each count is how many years?
Each count is 20 years in prison. But that didn't matter, because if it is one count, I'm done. You know, I was 79 years old. If it is one count and 20 years, I will die in the prison. So it didn't matter, but it was 20 years for each. 20 years for each count. So I don't know how many years. That's probably a couple of 400 years of the prison time. You know, it didn't make any sense. But I never thought in that terms. I said, this will never happen. You know, we come from a place where honor is more important than the life itself. And the government couldn't believe what I was talking. They thought that he has lost his mind. My attorneys thought that I lost my mind. I did not. I knew what I was talking. I believed in it. And I thought that I'll come out. 0.03% people win from the government. Not 0.3, 0.03. It is the height of arrogance to think that you can win. You know, Pami told me that take a plea because I want you to come home. Doesn't matter. I defied it. I'm sorry that I did, but I had to. I had no other choice. Finally, we went to the trial, 12 jury, common people like me. Those who gave a verdict after 7 weeks of trial, the judge had to say 54 times, not guilty, not guilty, not guilty. 54 times the judge had to say that. And it pained him to tell that Dr. Raj Bothra, you are free to go home. It pained him to say that. But there are questions now. And it is very sad that we have to talk about it. There are questions about the judiciary in the United States, and that was the reason to write the books. The question is number one, same charges, same people, word by word, 5 people are allowed to go home, and 1 person is kept in the prison for 1301 days. You have to answer that question. The government has to answer that question. The second question is, the day I came home, my friend Anil called me from India. He said, I want to know only one thing. How are they going to give back 3.5 years of life that they stole from me, from Pami, and from Sonia? How are they going to give it back to me? They have to answer that question. And then 2 doctors pleaded guilty for their own reason, nothing to do with the work they were doing with me. They did not spend 1 day in prison. And I'm happy for them. I'm happy for their family. They were good people. They had to do that for their reason. But they did not spend 1 day. How do you justify putting me in prison for 1301 days, who did not plead guilty and who will never plead guilty and who went to the court and he won? Somebody has got to explain it. And since the government cannot explain, I have written the book. I want the people to be aware what is going on. As I was ignorant about the system, I'm sure many other people are ignorant about the system. They have to know what is going on. And particularly people coming from other places. Most of the people here are from India or wherever they are from. And that was very disturbing to me, that this kind of unfairness, and there are many people. I could fight. I had few $1 million to pay to the attorneys. I would take it in the prison. I would give problem to my wife and daughter, which was the most difficult part for me. I could fight it because I would not accept it. But there are many people who could not fight, and they have to accept the plea deal. They have to go to the prison, the crime that they have not committed. So this is something not to be taken lightly, something to be taken seriously, and something that we have to some kind of campaign in which we try to educate the people, hopefully the government, though I don't think they are capable of understanding, but something that has got to be done. And that was the purpose of writing the book. Why? Other question is, why me? Why did they come after me? I'm an ordinary citizen. I'm no threat to the government. The title on the book is written there, An Ordinary Man, An Incredible Journey. I'm an ordinary person. I'm nobody. If you compare the power of the government, United States of America, the most powerful country in the world, every resource that they have, every trick that they can play against you, they did that. They went to my employees and they said, you will be indicted if you don't fall in line and if they don't hear what they want to hear from these people. They did everything. They paid $16,800 in cash to a drug addict to come and speak against me there. Obviously, he was decimated in 5 minutes by the other attorneys. Paid in cash. I mean, how could, this thing probably doesn't even happen in India. Maybe it is happening, maybe in other third world countries of some kind. It doesn't happen in America. You have to report in your discovery what are the facts you have, both sides. At 11:45 p.m. in the night, there was an email came from the prosecutors that we paid $16,800 to this particular witness who is going to be testifying in the morning at 9 o'clock, hoping that nobody will read it. But we did. We knew what was going on. And the guy testified that it was in cash because I don't have MasterCard or Visa and I buy cocaine and I have to pay in cash. Can anybody believe that? I mean, we have lived here for 50 years and I cannot believe that. But this is happening. So this is the kind of defense that the government was going to bring. We did everything above reproach of any kind. I've been in leadership position all my life. Chairman of the Department of Surgery, President of the Medical Staff. I knew the rules, I knew the regulation. And without that even, I do not want to do anything that is wrong. And they should have thought anything about it, but they had no consideration of any kind. So why me, the question comes. Why me? Because I was the poster child for the government. It was the time of the opioid crisis. 100,000 kids were dying every year by the fentanyl and heroin. It was mostly the problem of the illegal drugs, not the prescription drugs, but there was some from the prescription drugs. So one thing that I was the poster child because I had the biggest practice in the country. They have the statistics on it, which they can manipulate everything. And I dare say that I was rich and I was an Indian. I dare say that. When I came here, it was just so beautiful. Racism was always there in America, but it was white against black. Today, it is white versus non-white. That includes most of us here. I did not think about that till I got into this process, but I believe that it is correct. And that is wrong. That is absolutely wrong. And somebody has got to raise the voice on it. When I get in trouble for doing it, but that's okay. I've got in trouble many times. Because I'm a rebel, I'm an idealist, I'm stubborn. This is a toxic combination that invites the problem. And it did all my life. And I've been able to do whatever I can. I lost some, I won most of it. But I never wavered from this belief that I'm talking to you today. That is basically all I have to say, but they asked me to read a couple of one page from my book. So I will do that. I wasn't planning to do that, but I've been asked by Prashant and other people. So let me read a couple of things for you from my book. In the calm tranquility of reflection, I understand the extent of my blessings. I grew up in a living family with the culture and tradition of India. I was trained to be a surgeon in England. I married Pami and I adopted Sonia. I was the luckiest man. I worked for the past 50 years in America, a land of faith, grit, and opportunity. I healed countless people. I received a high honor from the President of India for my civic work. I'm proud to have served two countries well. I was blessed by the two saints of 20th century. I worked with Mother Teresa. I was invited to spend a day with Holy Father in Italy. I have lived a full life. I have no regrets of any kind. Emerging from this grueling ordeal, I feel reborn. For so long, they don't cross a line where they could get in legal trouble. You know, they transferred me to another place. They put me in a medical unit where the air condition is going. I'm hypothyroid. I cannot tolerate the cold. I had no clothes. I had no food. I did not have my legal papers, and that continued for 7 days. I want you to see a picture there on that page. The day when I was indicted and the day I was released.
Yeah.
There are two pictures, and you have seen it, you know. And
Night and day.
and that tells the story. So what bothers me is not that they failed, the system failed. It can fail. It happens in every society, and I accept that. You know, if they are told in 3 months' time, well, listen, we found out that you are not guilty, and we are dropping the case, I would have had much more honor and respect for the system. But that did not happen. They doubled down, including, I'm sorry to say, including the judge.
Jokingly tell people I'm like Raj's dentist. I go meet with him and it's like pulling very stubborn teeth. And you know, if you look at, I put a lot of pictures online on his website of just all of these incredible events and experiences that he has had. One of the things about Raj is he had this just radiant smile. He just had a light and just, I mean, a lightningness to him everywhere he went. And this comes out in the pictures. And when I met Raj a couple of years ago, that smile was broken. You know, it was his grief, his trauma was raw. And working with him and getting to be a part of watching him kind of come back to himself and finding himself, even though he never lost himself. There's a scene in the book where we went back and forth on this a couple of times, where he's looking in the mirror, and the man that he sees in the mirror is no longer himself. And that was the man that I met a couple of years ago when we started, and I got to see him, you know, starting to come back to himself. And an interesting thing, and you know, it's hard to answer that question. You asked him a question. It's very hard to self-reflect and answer that question appropriately. Most of us are not that, you know, concerned about our own selves in these type of experiences. But an interesting phenomenon that I've witnessed since Prasan has come on is Raj has gotten to talk to other people in his life and people involved in the case that he probably doesn't have enough lifetime left, 10 years, 20 years, to be able to have all of these really important conversations that he's had in months. And just, I'm trying to think back to maybe March. I was just having a conversation with someone about this the other day. Watching him transform from March to now, which is what, September? That's 6 months. I'm not a math person, I'm sorry, I'm a word person. So in the last half a year, watching him come back, and when we were filming the party just a couple of weeks ago, celebrating his grandbaby's first birthday on his island home, seeing that smile, that was the smile from all of the pictures that I was yet to see. We couldn't even get a good author picture of the two of us because it was that just easygoing smile. And watching that come back has been incredible. And it has been incredible to just be a part of that experience with him. And that's why I write. That's why I try to give voice to these things. It's not enough, you know, to sell books. It's to give voice, but it's also to help people heal and find themselves again. Because isn't that what it's about? Every season of our life, we're finding ourselves over and over and over again. So I just wanted to share that answer because I think that maybe I think all of us up here are more qualified to answer that question on his behalf as just being able to share in just a fraction of his extraordinary life. And so I am very honored to not just be a part of the book and to whatever roles I play with the movie production, but I'm honored to just be in his life and to be here today. And every time he says, Jennifer, can you come here? You want to join us? It's an honor over and over and over again. And I do not take that for granted. So again, I just wanted to add that.
But when you have to start writing the book, did you see it that you have to relive that whole journey again? And therefore is that much more painful to remember all that and write it down? Or did you see it as a kind of catharsis and letting go?
Okay, I got the question. The thing is this, I went through it. It was a difficult time. I wouldn't say it was easy and everything. But at the same time, I think that the system failed. And I just got caught into the system. Okay, and it doesn't bother me because in every country, in every organization, every institution. I worked in the hospital, I was the president of the hospital, I've seen the system failing. What bothered me most, that when they realized within a month or two that they were wrong. So instead of accepting that, they doubled down on it. They said that it is a prestige issue. This was the biggest fraud case in American history. Now, how could they say that? I mean, there are much bigger issues going on. That's what they said, and they doubled down on it, made it a prestige issue. Governor John Engler from Michigan, good friend of mine, and I did not tell him to help me. Bobby called him up, and he talked to the people in the Department of Justice. He talked to the people here in Michigan, and then in the end, he told my attorney, Alan Rogowski, that things are not going well. I can talk to the judge. We said, no, this is interfering in the judiciary. We should not do that. In the end, he was told by Department of Justice in Washington that you stay out of it. This is our case. We have made it a prestige issue, and we're going to take it to the end. And this is what actually happened. That bothers me, that they will go to that extent against an ordinary man who is nobody.
Right.
You know, there are thousands of people like me, those who had a good life, those who had a success in the life. In fact, it is the story of every immigrant, those who came here. They did well.
It is great amount of suffering and great amount of courage being shown in the face of most impossible odds. So it's a very special feeling to be asked to play the role of Raj Bothra in this story. And it feels very joyous for me to be here when the book is being released. I just want to wind back a little flashback, as they say in film, because Ramesh is here to launch the book, and it's also the 50th anniversary of Sholay. And while everyone remembers the success of Sholay and the extraordinary impact it's had on history, those things are not accidents, they don't just happen. You know, the belief that Ramesh Sippy and his father G.P. Sippy had in the film was so much that if they were not happy with the particular scene that was shot, no matter what the cost, they would reshoot that film, whether it meant rebuilding a bridge or rerunning a race or recreating a scene or shooting one film over 20 days to get the right light on it, etc. There was a belief behind it. People in the industry thought they were mad because what they were spending on the film was 5 times more than what normal people would budget their films for. And everyone said, how are they going to recover this money? And you know, I was there at Minerva Cinema when the film actually screened for the first time. And there's always jealousy in the industry, and people said, nahi yaar, ye picture nahi chalegi, it will not run. And the first few days, because this was a negative word of mouth, the film was not running to houseful in the first few days. And then as real word of mouth started spreading, and real audiences started coming back, that film ran in Minerva Cinema for 5 years, playing 4 shows a day. And of course the film kept growing with its legendary history and impact on the industry. So this is really a story of great belief in what you do, the success of something the success of a great belief that you have. And I think Dr. Raj Bothra's book and life is also a symbol of the great belief that he had in the values that he had, that he would not bow down. It was easy enough for him to say, okay, I'll take a plea bargain, get a light sentence of some kind, prove everyone right, and carry on with his life. But there's something in him that said, no, this is wrong. I will not accept peace with dishonor. And he chose to fight. And you know, his belief was there, but then there was also the belief of his wife, Pami, who stood by him through all this. believing in him, believing in his innocence, believing in his value and believing in his cause. So that belief is very important. Now, when Prashant heard the story, he also believed in the story. He also said this film must be made. He's also invested his belief in this film. And so it's really belief that makes good stories, it's belief that has them manifested as books, belief that has manifested as films, belief that touches the hearts of audience, because it is that belief that gives you the strength to overcome and face down the most painful of situations. I mean, I read the book and first Prashant gave me an idea of the story and I thought remarkable. When I read the book, I was blown away. I thought, how can this happen in America? Not giving enough warm clothes to cover himself in the middle of winter. He falls down, has a concussion, breaks his teeth. They say he fell down deliberately so he could go to hospital. You know, this kind of inhumanity, one can believe, happening perhaps in totalitarian states. But for it to be happening as a matter of routine, in his case, in the American system, came as a great shock to me, because I also spent a lot of time in America. I lived here for almost more than 20 years in Hollywood, doing various films and understanding the American system. And of course, one hears about injustices in every country. But the level of injustice in this case, where an upstanding, upright, moral, successful man who should be the American dream is suddenly confronted with pistols in his face and arrested, and then not given bail, and then subject to the most humiliating treatment so that he may crack and accept a plea bargain so that all of them can go home with medals. That seemed to me the most inhuman story imaginable. And the fact that he stuck to his resolve, and remember, as he said, even being guilty on one charge would have gotten 20 years in jail. And he had 54 charges against him. And the fear could be there, and God knows they might cook the books and find some way to prove me guilty on some charge that they could have. You always have that doubt. It's a state against you, not some small-time lawyer. These are serious state prosecutors with reputations. So to have the courage to say, I will fight 54 charges and they will not prove me guilty on any of those charges because I am right, is rare conviction, rare courage. And that is the courage that I would like to see portrayed in this film. And that is why this film should be made. And that is why we should all, each one of us, salute Dr. Raj Bothra for what he has achieved.